We do have the picks and bans for Game 2 ready for you, though. We said an hour-long game. I don't know if it can live up quite to that, but this is going to be important for Rival, who haven't been able to get any points yet, to come in and at least split here with the Papis.
First things first, there's no way in hell that I see MrNazer getting that Thoth pick again. It just way too crazy of a performance from MrNazer. I mean, we've seen his Giannis gameplay, and that's pretty impressive, so to say, but I really do think that that Thoth was just way too much of a problem for Rival to deal with.
Yeah, you can go the whole game without dying, even without Hi to the Urchin, is what we just saw there for that Thoth play. But we do see Hell getting banned out early by Rival, as well as Camazotz and Erlux Shen. Camazotz, a bit of a terror in the jungle. Just go ahead and take him out.
Well, not to mention that it's a really strong pick for iceicebaby.
Yeah.
He is a great jungler when it comes to mechanics, and having that Camazotz is only going to boost him a little bit further.
That does force Rival to ban out Ardio, which they do, leaving the first pick open. Terra is available, but the Papis choose to go with Cucullin, give themselves a little bit of pressure in that solo lane.
It could also potentially be a flex pick for the Papis. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody like Dheylo looking to try and take this Cucullin into the jungle. It's aggressive, it has a little bit of frontline appeal, and it's utility, and that's the way that I really see Cucullin, but also a strong standout god if Creed wants to have more pressure in that solo lane.
Rival also taking a bit of a flex pick with Osiris as their first pick, and then Rom coming in as well. So lots of damage and auto attack focus coming out from Rom, and then Jing picked up for Papis.
And I love it for Papis running back the Jing. Warchi had a great game as well on this Jing, and I think that he was kind of one of the sleeper aspects. We were putting a lot of emphasis onto MrNazer, and rightfully so, but Warchi as well also had a pretty standout performance on this Jing, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. Same thing happening for Draco picking up that Geb.
Geb had a huge impact for them in that game, not just with the shields, but also with the Blink Cataclysms. Rival instead going with Fafnir over Ares this time. How do you feel about Fafnir as their support?
Not surprised in the slightest. This is Kalas's god. This is his staple. I mean, it's what he established. His name and identity on EU SPL is being the dragon.
Thoth and Ra banned out here for Rival, and for the Papis, those first bans of our second banning phase, as well as Robin. So it looks like they don't think Cucullin's going to be going to the jungle necessarily, as Robin's one of those ones we more often see in the jungle.
Eliminating the potential control aspects that Papis might have been looking for as well. You don't want to permit a team to have really strong early game pressure. That's what Rival was trying to do against the Papis last game, and it worked out only for a little bit, but Papis are also a team that really thrive in the early game stages if they draft that way. So wanted to mitigate some of that map pressure. I think that was a strong choice by Rival to ban out the Robin.
Unbat's picked up here for Rival just to give them even more control in these team fights. And I guess that means Osiris is going to be going to the jungle for them now too, as Unbat, or rather the solo lane, as Unbat will almost certainly be in the jungle. And then Susano picked up for Papis.
Osiris is a really strong brawler against the Cucullin, so I like that mindset. Deathwalker feeling pretty confident in just taking out that slapbox fight early on. The solo lane is just mostly going to be Cucullin and Osiris. It's just looking to poke out as much damage as possible, and the Soul actually being a selection, but I'm looking more at that Hades.
I'm looking at that Hades there too, locked up to very likely be the mid lane mage for Team Rival here, so that's one of their picks that we see Rival on a lot. But to talk about Soul too, I think that's a strong pickup. You don't always want to go see Soul going to Fafnir, but looks like we do have a real small thing there with the Spectre, actually Vulcan in the mid lane, so not quite as spicy as we were initially thinking.
I was waiting for it, because I was like, man, Hades, I can kind of see it. You got the Hun-Batz ultimate, but Vulcan makes sense too. You gotta appreciate having that Hun-Batz Fear No Evil right into the explosion that Vulcan can provide in the mid lane.
Yeah, Vulcan is very good, not just at providing that big explosion, but at objective control as well. If he puts it on an objective that's very low, it's hard to come in and contest that kind of secure. So that gives Wlfy for Team Rival a good chance to contest some of these early objectives for them to try and set up iceicebaby and Deathwalker to do a lot of damage.
And I also really like Vote being on the ROM. I think that for Rival, a large issue that they were encountering in that last game wasn't Vote's positioning, so to say, but it was the Papis aggressing onto him so frequently, making it really difficult for Vote to escape from that pressure. And now that he'll have that Rama ultimate to use to his advantage, he can buy himself a little bit more time for Rival to respond accordingly.
They do give up some AoE from that position, though. Vote was a big part of, I think, why their Phoenix defenses were going so well in particular. When they got pulled into all that AoE damage, it was very difficult to respond, even for the tankier characters.
But having that attack speed steroid in his kit now provided with his second ability is going to make things a little bit easier if the game goes again to that late game stride, because Ram is a late game hyper carry, and Hui can perform to that as well. It's just a little bit more difficult when you're trying to box up against a Jing because your attack speed can really fall apart facing off against that Jing.
Once again, we see our support starting in the mid lane, leaving our AD carries alone in the dual lane. These early elementals go the way of the Papis, and it looks like those mid Harpies did as well. Team Rival were there to contest, but I believe Papis were able to secure them, which is part of what you get when you got a Geb and a Soul there in the mid lane. They clear well.
And Kalas, of course, is just trying to assist Wlfy. Wlfy, again, going for that because of Thoth Rush, which is expected on a god like Wlfy.
Good poke coming out from MrNazer. Have Wlfy very low. Dracomarino even commits the blink and uses the rollout there for the slow. That forces out the shell from Team Rival to keep Wlfy alive, and just barely dodging a stellar burst damage from MrNazer. Kalas going aggressive again, though. Misses the hammer stun. That might have set up big damage from Wlfy, but still gets off that meatball.
Still has that potential cleanse from the purification beads, although no mid laner wants to have to force those out at level 2, so luckily enough for MrNazer able to just escape that. And it looks as though Rival actually trying to apply a little bit of pressure onto the Papis in their buffs, recognizing that Dheylo and Creed were able to successfully secure them.
Still in favor, though, of the Papis, because Wlfy had to give up his Aegis, it looks like, to try and stay alive in that early engagement. So it is one more cooldown that Wlfy has to be mindful of. Still 112 seconds remaining on that relic to try and keep him safe, as Kalas again playing aggressive. Good shield, though, from Dracomarino, so MrNazer can just keep on moving.
Really strong stellar burst as well from MrNazer, getting a little bit of poke potential out onto Wlfy. Both of these mid laners are probably going to have to be backing, though, pretty soon. Wlfy with a little bit more mana than MrNazer, but MrNazer having those auto attacks and the passive climb from that heat built up, making them stronger as it builds, so still clear in favor of the Papis.
Warchi does hit level 5 first here on the dual lane side of the map. I think that's why we see Vote and BK playing back a little bit here, because Dheylo was also lurking in the jungle. If Vote had been up further, I have no doubt that they would have went in on that, especially with Warchi's ultimate available.
Doesn't have his blink quite yet, though. Instead, going to have the purification beads. Worried about that ultimate from iceicebaby having too much setup if he doesn't have any form of escape.
That's a big part of what makes Batz such a strong pick. You just kind of have to have beads, or else you're going to be controlled for so long. The rest of the team's going to have so much setup. They really could just kind of do whatever they want to you. So very important for Dheylo to pick up those beads to make sure he doesn't get caught out by Batz. Backing off everyone here is, but Poppy's still the ones exerting a lot of control over these neutral camps in the mid, like not the oracles, but rather the elementals, those mid harpies.
Poppies have to make sure that they are on point, however, with their vision as far as the objectives are concerned. There is no doubt in my mind that Rival, the second that they see one or two members backing off from the Poppies and heading back to base, they're going to immediately aggress onto that Gold Fury, I'd anticipate. They've got the cores from Kalas on that Fafnir. You've got Wlfy with his turrets and just his secure in general, super strong. Vote's got a lot of shred as well, and Ice can just make sure that nobody gets close.
iceicebaby's ultimate very strong and helping to secure objectives, not necessarily on the objective itself, but just keeping people away from it. As we do see a bit of a slapbox here over those mid harpies, looks like they go the way of Team Rival. Creed, though, into that rage form over here against Deathwalker. Got a bit of a health lead on Osiris over here too, and he'll be backing, going back to try and pick up that first item. And again, we see the ultimate coming out from iceicebaby here in mid lane. MrNazer, though, is in that disapparate, and he's able to get out safely. Wlfy uses the ultimate, forces MrNazer to come back into the lane, but he does avoid it. Ends up being no kills there, but very, very close for MrNazer. Does have to use his beats. That
Geb shield from Draco just completely saved MrNazer, even though he was able to finally make it into that disapparate form off of popping his own purification beads. That little bit of a health shield early on, as small as it might have seemed, still coming up huge for MrNazer.
iceicebaby's ultimate will be on cooldown now, but he knows he got some important cooldowns from the Poppies as well. So the next time he goes in on MrNazer, those beads won't be available for him. But MrNazer already very safe on the soul, and as you mentioned, Dracomarino watching out for him too to try and keep him safe as Vote and Warchi fight over these oracles, and Warchi gets them both.
Warchi more than happy to have that Oracle Vision. Just means that iceicebaby will have to be a little bit more careful about rotating over. Slight boxing match between these two hunters right now, but Warchi finding the better end of it, and that's kind of just what you expect early on. Jing was typically harbor a little bit more experience in comparison to the enemy ADC because of how frequently and easily she can pick up those back harpies in her dueling side.
And she's forced back early, able to come back to the lane as well, so doesn't even lose as much farm as your typical AD carries do on that left-hand side. Still very early on here in the game. We're 5 minutes in, no kills, and the gold is all but even up at this point too, so neither team able to establish very much of a lead, but it's the Papis with vision over here on the left-hand side, or the dual lane side, just to make sure that there's no aggression onto Warchi, or to set up aggression of their own with Dheylo on Susano.
Warchi being informed that Khalis is making that rotation, didn't opt to dash forward onto Vote when he used his rollout, and instead it's Khalis being aggressed onto by Dheylo. Draco here just provides some moral support because nobody is looking to go in from the Papis off of that one.
It would have been difficult to take down the tanky Khalis this early in the game. They did have 3 members there, but not a whole lot of damage, but a good bit of control, so just deciding to tag him a little bit. Once again, though, Khalis is hanging around on this side, looking to get the hammer off of the Warchi. He does. Not able to force out any cooldowns or anything, but he was able to get the Geb shield out, and the Warchi is going to be okay.
And that's just one of those aspects that you kind of anticipate from Warchi, but we are going to take a quick pause for a second here off of that one. But we do have, I mean, I really appreciate that mindset from the Papis, just because they recognize, even though Khalis is a little bit more susceptible early on, he still has that dragon form available from his ultimate, the cooldown refresh, providing a little bit too much. And when support could essentially have 2 forms of escape, it would just buy so much time for Rival to respond.
That's right, and Khalis was coming in just trying to see what he could get out of them in response. So good job going over and trying to force it. I believe we do have the game ready to get back up here, so no problem. We'll be able to get right back into it. Or rather, we're not able to get in just yet, but don't worry, we got it coming for you. Taco and I'll talk to you a little bit longer about what's been going on here so far. This early game, it is very even right now, but as soon as things are able to break open, we saw Papis play so well in game 1. I'm expecting him to do big things here.
I'm especially riding off the momentum from game 1. It's a lot more tedious and mentally straining for the enemy team that falls victim to that 50-minute loss. But of course, Rival are such a seasoned team. All of these players have been around the competitive area for a while now, so it makes it a little bit easier on Rival because, I mean, sure, they went down to the Papis, but they are by no means out. It was really just Rival needing to be a little bit more patient as far as looking for those initial aggression standpoints.
And Rival did, though, doing the right thing here. The thing that you do after a long loss, like we just saw in that long game, when things are so close, you've been battling so hard, and you're not able to pull it through, they go back to what feels like comfort picks for him. Khalis is on Fafnir. Vote is on Rama. They're on gods that they know how to pilot, they know they can do well on, they've seen success on, and that helps you in this next game.
Not to mention that Khalis' Fafnir was banned in game number 1.
Yeah.
Papis, that was their target number 1. Make sure Khalis doesn't get Fafnir. It's a strategy that we've seen happen among a few European teams whenever they face off against Rival, and for good reason, because Khalis' Fafnir is actually pretty insane. He just knows the gods in and outs, and sure, he's been a little bit off the mark with some of the hammer stuns early on in this game, but I think that as long as it progresses and he's still just providing that coerce to his team, that'll be the more important part, especially since he has a hunter like Vote who loves being aggressive.
And that coerce, it's so important that you bring that up too. It's not just Vote, but in particular having Vulcan on your team as well is very good for those objectives. You mentioned earlier the turret being able to help tank some of the aggro, putting in damage as well. The ultimate, which is so strong for securing. So they're going to be a strong objective-minded team just overall, and I wouldn't be surprised now that we're back in game if we see Rival take some early objectives.
But of course, I also expect this to be a little bit slower pace just because they are trying to reset and refresh off of game number 1. And looking at both of these compositions, neither side really has the overall win out early on because iceicebaby, sure, the Fear No Evil is great, but Batz can struggle a little bit early on. Speaking of which, Dheylo struggling a little bit against 3 members of Team Rival as Rival is looking to secure those fire elementals, and they will do so successfully since there's 4 members available.
If Deathwalker could have gotten that slow, I feel like they would have certainly committed a little bit harder there. They do get the elementals on the right-hand side, as well as come over here and start taking a look at these mid-harpies, which is another area where we've seen them fighting. But now it's Rival that have put the wards there in that mid-side, right there in between those two paths, right near the mid lane in the jungle. But Papis are the ones with the actual vision where the Oracles and Gold Fury are. So if anything starts up there, they'll be able to see what's happening.
It's just been a split up, really, of the global farm that's available on the map. Warchi's been securing the Oracles on the left-hand side, and then Rival's been manhandling the Fire Elementals, making sure that nobody gets near from the Papis.
Ultimate comes out from iceicebaby, and Dheylo gets taken down easily. Creed in that rage form wants to get a little bit more from Deathwalker, but he's going to have to back off. Big kill there for Rival.
I think that Creed really wanted to keep going, but recognizing that iceicebaby would have probably been enough to slow him down. Just so unfortunate how quickly Dheylo fell. Wasn't even able to use his ultimate.
Wlfy committing the ultimate there to take the speed buff. Dracomarino blinks in, and Wlfy immediately uses the Aegis to nullify the damage coming out. MrNazer's ultimate is down 2. He put over the top to try and help secure Wlfy. Warchi's ultimate brings Wlfy very, very low, but Callus now is in that dragon form to keep his mid laner alive. Wlfy on the back line just getting burned down. You do not want a dragon breathing on you as iceicebaby gets the kill.
And that is exactly what I was talking about when it comes to Callus and his Fafnir, just destroying Warchi's hopes and dreams of killing Wlfy. And it's just not a lot of playroom left in those scenarios. Wlfy trusted his team to peel for him, immediately went for the straight line. And meanwhile, you've got Vote just casually taking that Gold Fury.
And casually pushing that gold lead up to about 4,000 in favor of Rival, as now they are up 2-0 in the kills, both of them on top of iceicebaby on this Batz as well, who's been having a big impact with his ultimate, forcing out cooldowns early and setting up the rest of his team.
And that lead that Warchi once had over Vote has just been completely destroyed. Vote didn't make the rotation over to the Fire Elementals. The disarm as well from Callus onto Warchi came up massive in that team fight because Warchi was unable to look for any auto attacks whatsoever. So, of course, he's kind of just running around in a straight line. That's just open season for damage.
And Vote got his Devo gloves on a good bit before Warchi was able to. He was ahead about 20 stacks. Another big part of why that Gold Free went their way, but iceicebaby takes Dheylo his way with his ultimate in the mid lane. Credit goes to Wlfy. Big kill for Rival.
That was beautiful positioning of the Fear No Evil, forcing Dheylo straight into the wall. It's always really funny whenever you see somebody just trapped right there. Speaking of which, though, not funny at all for Dracos. He's trying to aggress onto Wlfy in the mid lane.
Goes in to try and get Wlfy taken down. Wlfy returns a bunch of damage. Now he's going to have to back off, and Warchi trying to get damage hit. Creed ends up taking out Wlfy.
And it's going to be actually Vote looking for the sniper shots from across the way on that Rom. Warchi doing what he can to defend this T1 tower, and nobody from Rival really has a whole lot of opportunity to siege it, but everybody just looking to respond and lock down these members of the Papis that were left standing. Dheylo has respawned, able to make his way over, but still, very strong team fight from Rival, keeping that gold lead intact, but more importantly, securing that kill. That's just one of the things that you can kind of anticipate to happen. And Warchi, again, on this left-hand side, just farming away, giving a little bit of farm to his support. That is one of the things that you're kind of looking for. And MrNazer as well in the mid lane, farming away. After those kind of team fights break out, you just expect this reset to happen from the members of the Papis. And all around, they need to be a little bit more careful about their engagements. We see this invade coming through from Rival, though. Papis recognizing it. Not sure that Rival really want to fully commit here, knowing that so many members from the Papis have responded. Creed getting cleansed of that stun out from Callus's hammer. Just, again, 4 members of the Papis responding to this one side of the map, but that's leaving Vote all by himself in the dual lane to just keep farming away happily. These little leads are all that it's going to take. He already has a 2-level lead over Warchi, and again, the stacks.
And MrNazer taking a lot of poke there in the middle lane as well, so he's forced to back off as Team Rival do finally end up having to give up 1 kill there in the form of Wlfy in the mid lane. An important kill that the Papis were able to secure onto Creed, but now Rival recognizing that the Papis not all here, get the Portal Demon started up. Wlfy commits his ultimate, and they take the Portal Demon while the Papis are napping.
And that's exactly what Rival need to do. As soon as they recognize an advantage, they're going to press it. And when they have such a strong composition for securing objectives and shredding them at that, it's not even just to secure, it's just how fast they can kill it as well.
And that was even with, I'm not sure if that ward was already there, but vision control looks like for Papis right on top of the portal demon. So either they were seeing it happen and couldn't respond fast enough, or they only just placed it there now. But Team Rival, again, pushing his lead out at 12 minutes to about 5,000. That's a real big lead here in favor of Team Rival this early in the game. Up 3-1 in the kills column as well. And look at iceicebaby's build path.
And we mentioned it in game number 1 where Rival had this same sort of advantage. It was a very similar advantage very early on as well, but Papis still managed to bounce back. Can never really count this team out after their game 1 performance, and Rival certainly cleaning things up, not looking to give any leeway room for the Papis to try and work their way back into this game.
Creed and Deathwalker just kind of slap fight over here in this right-hand side. But I do want to talk a little bit about what you said. Usually, if there's a team that's maybe not as experienced or not quite as veteran, then the early game is where they'll do the best, because it's kind of the part you always get to practice. Those late-game 55-minute slugfests, those are the ones you might not have nearly as many reps in, as iceicebaby blinks in, shield comes out on a MrNazer immediately. Dracomarino also commits the ultimate to try and turn onto iceicebaby, who escapes with 1 HP. No, 25. Yeah, 25.
That was a beautiful shell from Kalas, just completely saving the life of iceicebaby, who just, the turn and burn from the Papis. That is what Rival has to keep an eye out for. Speaking of which, Deathwalker trying to bait the Papis into that Vulcan ultimate, unfortunately going to be off the mark as Papis recognizing it, just fall back immediately.
iceicebaby had 24 more than he needed that last fight. He was good to go. You know, able to just walk on out of there, so no problem. We did see, as you said, Creed trying, or not Creed, but Deathwalker trying to get a little bit more of an engagement out from the Papis, but they were not biting. So that's Wlfy's ultimate down just for, you know, a moment. And looks like Wlfy here is doing that thing you love, where he's going into Hide of the Urge.
And I absolutely love this from Vote, though, where he was trying to contest Warchi on his own buff. Warchi actually dashing forward. Not sure if Vote caught that on the ward, however. But again, like you were saying, the Hide of the Urchin, I actually like it a lot more this time. He has a 2-level lead, and it's a win more item, like I mentioned in game number 1, where if you're already ahead, you can benefit substantially from the stat boost that it provides.
And he has felt pressure from Dheylo there in that mid lane too. Good poke is Deathwalker getting onto Dheylo here in the 2v1. But now Creed with that rage form is going to keep going in. He backs off, but Gold Fury goes down in favor of Rival one more time on that right-hand side. So again, their objective control is huge.
Deathwalker immediately calling out, yeah, their jungler is back over here. There's no problem for that to happen. And of course, whenever that occurs, they're just going to be coming back off of it. And with the members able to secure the Gold Fury, Ice looking for the aggression onto Warchi, forcing out that Jing ultimate is a huge part of Warchi's early game survivability.
Now that gold lead closer to 6,000 to 7,000 in favor of Team Rival, and the early game going much more in their favor this time than last game. Last game, they did have the early lead, but it feels like now the win condition for the Papis in the late game is a lot weaker as opposed to Rival's objective control. They're already pressuring this tier 1 tower in right lane very, very low.
Very massive gold and level disparity between these two teams, all in favor of Rival right now. When you're approaching a 7,000 gold lead this early on, 3,000 to 4,000, you're still in it. 7,000 plus, things start getting pretty questionable for the team that is 7,000 gold behind, because you just don't have the items online to contest, even if the levels still manage to stay somewhat nearby. And that's really the case here for Papis. Is Creed, again, just forced out underneath his tower. Deathwalker looking to go all in on this one. Popped out the horrific emblem, expending his ultimate as well. No healing provided to Creed, diving that T2 beautifully, and it's all Deathwalker.
Deathwalker had no care in the world underneath the tier 1 tower, tanking that, then gets the horrific emblem as iceicebaby takes out MrNazer in the mid lane, and it feels like it's falling apart here for Papis early, certainly not calling it, but the game is just leaking in favor of Team Rival as they control the solo lane and mid side of the map this early. But Deathwalker in particular really had no cares about what Creed was trying to do over there.
This is the Rival gameplay that you expect to see from this team that managed to come in second at DreamHack Valencia. They are a very cohesive unit, and it's finally coming into play here. Dracomarino not able to escape, actually getting locked down by 4 members of Rival. 5th one just in case. Deathwalker's like, hey guys, how's it going?
Deathwalker was rotating in, looking for blood just now, yeah. He did not get enough from Creed, as Warchi's on the left-hand side, pushing this Tier 1 tower, trying to get something out of all they're giving up on the right-hand side, as Team Rival also take the Portal Demon. iceicebaby, though, rotating in. Warchi does have his ultimate available, so he is capable of escaping. Gets the Tier 1 tower up into the air, doesn't use the dash just yet. It's enough just to force iceicebaby back.
But using that dash lets iceicebaby know that it's on cooldown. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking for a little bit more, but more than happy to just let Warchi have that 500 gold, considering that his team managed to find a Gold Fury, 2 kills, and a Fire Giant.
And this solo lane side of the map is looking so rough for Papis. Now Team Rival are down here taking the speed buff, taking the blue with sentry wards, regular wards, deep on the other side of the speed buff. So everything Papis do over here to try and get back into the game, Team Rival will have vision control of. And now they're pushing down this Tier 2 tower on the right-hand side. Callus and Vote are kind of all you need.
And it's not even like Rival have been killing the Papis off cooldown. There's only 6 deaths.
Yeah.
7 kills in total across the board. And that just goes to show how much map control that Rival have had, where Papis haven't even felt comfortable moving around their own jungle. And the little moments where the fights have broken out and Rival has secured kills, it's been splitting.
Looping around the backline here, and he does end up coming in. Gets pulled by Dheylo, not able to catch anyone in the ultimate is Wlfy, but Deathwalker doesn't care. He's able to 1v4, gets off the horrific emblem so that he can put in damage on the MrNazer. Warchi's ultimate forced off as well, and Vote does go up into the air and get the kill. Tier 2 tower falls as well.
The double kill snipes from Vote, cleaning up MrNazer, cleaning up Warchi. Neither of those carries safe. And now it's only Dheylo left to try and put the damage out, but with Creed and Draco being so far behind, I just don't see how anybody penetrates into Rival's backline.
This is an 18-minute Phoenix that we're talking about right now. They took that Phoenix 18 minutes, 40 seconds into the game. It's because Deathwalker cannot be touched right now. He was 1v4ing in the backline earlier, putting so much pressure onto the Papis, and just able to go up into the air is Vote and clean it up. They're also going to take this Tier 2 here in mid because they have Fire Giant around their waists, and it's a 15,000 gold lead at 19 minutes.
And this is where you, again, just start saying, this is the Rival that we expect to see. They are completely wiping everything off of the map, whether it's global farm or whether it's kills. It doesn't matter. Papis just have absolutely no opportunities to try and break past that front line from Rival because, as you said, Deathwalker is massive. He cannot be touched. And then on top of that, I mean, iceice is so confident in how efficiently his team has been working around these team fights. He built into the Lorraine's Mass third item. We haven't really talked about this a whole lot. This item gives you a little bit of movement speed, a little bit of pen if you can get those stacks online, and it's still a proficient enough item for only being 500 gold.
And it looks like Papis are trying to get something out of this map. They all group up and take the Tier 1 tower on the right, but they give up Tier 2 and left, and this Phoenix on the left-hand side is already down to half health, and no one's even here to contest it. Taco, I don't know how I feel about that trade.
It's not really an option, though, for the Papis. Papis really are just doing the only thing they have left to do, and that's to get what little bit of gold they can from Warchi split pushing. I don't fault the Papis for that call-out, because when you are this far behind, chances are, even if your whole team is there to try and defend that Phoenix, you're all just wiping anyway.
Papis recognizing that it will be very difficult to defend a Team Rival team that is this far ahead. Gold Fury now taken down in favor of Team Rival, approaching 18,000 is this gold lead right now, and I'm sure it's got to feel good for Rival after that slugfest they just had in Game 1.
Yeah, they're definitely not making the same mistakes as game number 1, and I don't want to say that MrNazer not getting Thoth is the issue here. I think it's mostly just been Rival playing up to their standards this game, and I mean, the Papis have made a massive improvement as far as just developing as a team and really progressing throughout their time spent in competitive Smite out of the challenger scene, but it's still a learning process.
And what we're seeing here, I think, is a lot of why Callus should not get Fafnir. It's not because he's going around hitting 100% of his hammer stuns or, you know, his dragon form is so oppressive. It's because of how well Team Rival can control the map when they have someone like Fafnir on their side. Like you said, only 8 kills this far in. What they've really done to build this lead is control objectives, control that neutral farm, and now here they are waiting on that Fire Giant, which is only 5 seconds from spawning.
And Callus has just been all over the carries from the Papis, whether it's the disarms, the hammer stunts, or even just dropping his dragon form on top of everybody to ensure that he's going to slow down anybody caught in the proximity around that ultimate, And then cooldowns refresh. He can immediately go in right after, gives all the playroom in the world to Deathwalker to continue looping around the backside into the backline of the Papis, getting members forced out low enough to where Vogue can clean up with his ultimate. It's just really solid gameplay from Rival.
In particular, iceicebaby, who holds a 5-level lead over Dheylo, his direct opposition. Deathwalker goes in, and Dracomarino goes in with a 3-man Cataclysm, but iceicebaby's ultimate is way too much disruption. Warchi already forced out of the fight. Wlfy commits the ultimate and is able to chunk down Dracomarino, but Creed cannot handle it in the front line, trying to take it alone, gets taken down by Callus. Dheylo having to back off here as well as that mid lane Phoenix falls. Now it's all 3 Phoenixes taken down. MrNazer very low as iceicebaby blinks in and deletes him.
And iceicebaby, of course, not looking to let up anytime soon, actually forcing out 3 members still from the Papis. They're trying to hold on to their Titan, but with 3 lanes of fire creeps pushing into the base, it won't be much longer. Wlfy taking out Warchi just for good measure to make sure nobody else can come in. Vo, I don't even care about the Titan. I just want to kill people in the fountain.
Yeah, looked as if Team Rival kind of were halting DPS on the Titan there to try and get a few more kills at the last moment. There are 3 members down to the Papis. The Titan does fall here, and Team Rival looking dominant in Game 2.
When you go from a 50-minute game to it was almost 23 minutes, but that was just Rival completely stepping it up to another level in that game. They did not want to risk not coming away with at least 1 point considering their start to this split.
And it was very important for them to end up getting that split since, like you said, they hadn't gotten any points so far. But that was just set 1. We got way more SPL action for you coming up after this break.
I see it, I hear your eyes. I follow you so damn foolishly. You'll be the sweetest goodbye. Give me a hot trip exclusively. Like this song in my head. In my head. In my head. In my